Hello, my name is Maya Hernandez. I'm with Troy University, and today's presentation is about the veterans' transition to civilian life. Today, we'll be talking about what is the issue and who is impacted. We'll look at some statistics and data, and then we'll also look at the impacts that this has on our veterans. And then we'll look at creating change. How can we change this for veterans and make it easier for them to transition into civilian life? And then we'll also look at some available resources. Okay, so what is the issue? Service members often have a very difficult time transitioning to civilian life. This is a fact, and some of these factors include they cannot connect to others outside the military, their duties don't transfer to civilian career, so they feel like they don't have purpose outside of the military. They struggle creating personal routines because the military is a very structured program. They get told what to do, when to do, what to eat, when to eat, what to wear, when to wear it. And once they enter civilian life, all of that is done and they have a hard time making personal choices. So who is impacted? About 27 to 44% of veterans report having a difficult time transitioning to civilian life. Making transition more difficult include the mental and physical trauma that you receive during service. This could be from a deployment, a traumatic event. It could be from becoming seriously injured, like I said, in deployment, or knowing someone who has been lost in deployment. You may not have been deployed, but you can know someone who was, and they were seriously injured or killed during deployment. So here are some statistics. This is a graph of veterans' difficulty. It's a comparison between post and pre 9/11 transition to civilian life. So here we have the post 9/11 in green and pre 9/11 in orange. It says about 33% said it was somewhat difficult transitioning to civilian life post 9/11, and then pre 9/11 was much lower, and then the difficulty, same thing. And then we have a very high percentage of 78% pre 9/11 transition to civilian life claimed it was easier. So basically what this graph is saying, transition to civilian life in the military has got increasingly more difficult since after 9/11. Here are some more statistics. Here we have 55% of veterans with traumatic experience said adjustment to civilian life was somewhat difficult. 66 with PTS said civilian life transition was somewhat difficult. 30% with the PTS said it was very difficult. And then 30% of veterans said the military did not prepare them well. And then 15 of those actually said that the military didn't prepare them at all. So what are the impacts? Social impacts. A lot of those who transition out of the military are unable to relate to those who do not understand military culture. So their friends or family, they may not have a hard time relating to them because they're not in the military and they didn't understand what they went through. And because of this, they may have a difficult joining or creating communities, as well as reintegrating family in the family unit. And this is related to divorce rates. It's very staggering. Divorce rates in veterans are 80%. The physical and mental impacts. So physical impacts, it's reported that 3 to 9 months after exiting the military, 53% reported having a chronic physical health condition. These physical health conditions included anything from chronic pain, sleep problems, TBI, mood problems, and memory problems. The mental impacts is the mental health impairment is significantly high. Veterans get out with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and mostly substance use disorders. 19 to 44% of these veterans will eventually be diagnosed with one of these disorders. The emotional impact. So here we're going to find suicide is very high in the veteran community. Veterans commit suicide about 22 times per day. That is a very well-known statistic within the veteran community. And then the rate just gets higher, 24% higher in the divorced or separated veterans. And we just saw that 80% of veterans are getting divorced. So that chance of suicide is significantly high. And then also those with co-occurring disorders are 23% or 23 times more likely to attempt suicide. And here I've posted the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline if you or anyone is struggling with suicide. Occupational impacts. There was a study done in 2017 that found actual veteran women who are post 9/11 have more difficulty finding employment than actual men. And a lot of these barriers include like I said, the non-transferable skills, your discharge status. So if you were discharged other than honorably, that is shown on your record, and many employees may or may not hire you due to that. And then the MOS, this is your job within the military, and sometimes it's not transferable. So like an infantryman might have a very difficult time finding a job in the civilian sector. Financial impacts. So financial issues can co-occur with mental health issues. So this can be because of you're spending extra money on substance abuse, poor money management skills, or like we just spoke about, you're unable to find employment. So the financial issues can get significantly more difficult. And then because of the financial issues that veterans are having, this turns into homelessness. And the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness found that 9% of the people who are homeless are veterans. And 38% of those veterans live without shelter. So that means they're living on the street or they're living in their car. And factors that make homelessness higher risk for veterans is the trauma, the unemployment, economic hardship, family, and mental health. All of the things that we've already talked about, it's like a pipeline. And once a veteran starts struggling with one thing, it'll trickle down, and eventually it can lead to homelessness. So what can we do? What the military does is they have a transition assistance program. It's called TAP. Now, this is a mandatory program that is provided by the military. Service members are expected to enroll 1 year prior to their separation or 24 months prior to their retirement. And it's a program, it's about a week long. You go there and they just teach you all of the skills that you need for civilian life. They teach you about resume writing, they give you VA benefits, financial planning, they help you transfer your MOS skills into like civilian jobs that may work for you. And if they don't work for you, they help you get education and prepare you for all of those things that transition is going to throw at you. However, the problem with this program is a lot of these veterans are being retired early, medically discharged, or they're being kicked out of the military earlier than expected than their ATS date for whatever reason. And so they're not given this opportunity to transition out of the military. And a lot of these people are just kicked to the side because they are getting kicked out early for whatever reason. It could be just for medical purposes, or it could be because they got in trouble. And so then that's where we see the problem in the veteran community. So there are other programs to help veterans transitioning to civilian life. There's not just the TAP program available for veterans. You just have to go outside the military community and find the nonprofit organizations that are willing to support veteran transition. So we have multiple programs. These are just not all of them. There's plenty more too that can be found. So first we have the Wounded Warrior Project. They help with combat stress, physical health, and wellness. They also help you file your VA claim. So if you're trying to get a disability claim, you can go through Wounded Warrior Project, and they'll help you with that. You have the American Legion. They'll assist veterans with understanding their education benefits. How can they use their GI Bill? They'll help you find jobs and scholarships. Operation Homefront help veterans financially by providing food, little things like moving assistance, transportation, auto and home repair. It's very helpful in that way. Then we have the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, and they work locally, the state, and federal agencies to provide housing and food for these veterans who are actually living on the street and don't have shelter. And then we also have Vet Jobs, which is just an online listing of 200,000 jobs available for the veteran community. So some available resources here. We talked about the 988 number, the Suicide and Crisis Hotline, very important number to have in your back pocket. And then we also have a Crisis Intervention Specialist number, the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans. So this is very important if you see or know a veteran who is struggling and living on the street. And then we also have the American Addiction Centers, and their locations are spread out all over the country. I believe there are 8 states that offer clinics, and this is a community care that is approved by the VA. So this concludes my presentation, and thank you so much for listening.